Various conflicts were going on in 1975, all of which were between democracy and communism. While these conflicts started between the United States and the Soviet Union, by this time it had spread throughout Southeast Asia. Vietnam had close ties to the Soviet Union and had gone to war with the United States. Also, China had become communist. However, there was one more response to the Cold War that, over the next 4 years, would cause the deaths of 2 million people and the destruction of a country: the Khmer Rouge. This video will attempt to take a closer look at the Khmer Rouge regime and answer the question, to what extent did the Cold War cause the Khmer Rouge to rise to power? This is a photograph of the Khmer Rouge Victory Parade, hosted after the conclusion of the Cambodian Civil War in 1975. With the entire country weakened by the war, and the Khmer Rouge having recruited more soldiers than ever before, the stage was set. The Khmer Rouge, a few days after the parade, forcefully evacuated people from the capital, Phnom Penh, due to the supposed threat of an American bombing. There is no actual threat, that is, until the agricultural communes. After citizens were moved to these communes, the genocide began. People were worked to the death, nearly starved, and tortured or killed for being educated, former Western professionals, religious, or anything but communist. All of this stemmed from the moment in 1975 when the Khmer Rouge took power. This is a news article titled, "Looking for the Exit. Vietnam Debate is on How, Not Whether, to Go." Pictured here is the front page of the newspaper in which this article was featured. This document was an article from the New York Times published on April 20th, 1975. The purpose of this document was to inform the public about the state of the conflict between Vietnam and Cambodia. This document is valuable because it is a primary document written at the time of the events, and therefore gives a first-hand account of the Khmer Rouge rise to power. Also, the article connects the Khmer Rouge to various other conflicts and countries, showing its place in the larger context of the Cold War. However, it also comes with some limitations. For example, since this document was written in the U.S. about events happening in Vietnam, it is therefore unlikely to show the perspective of the Vietnamese. Also, as written in the article when the Khmer Rouge are described as enigmatic, not much is known at this time about the Khmer Rouge. Now, to answer the question, to what extent did the conflict between the United States and the USSR cause the Khmer Rouge rise to power? To a greater extent, the conflict between the US and the USSR caused the Khmer Rouge to come to power because the Soviet Union played a definite role in the Khmer Rouge rise to power. This connection presented itself on March 29, 1970, when, according to D.V. Mosayakov, the North Vietnamese uncovered documents from the Soviet archives revealing that a prior invasion was launched at the explicit request of the Khmer Rouge. Because the Khmer Rouge was prompting some of the political actions of the USSR, they were in close relations with them, and thus the spread of communism in Cambodia was caused by the Soviet Union. Furthermore, this connection became clear once again later in the war, when Hun Sen, a Khmer Rouge military officer, according to John D. Siosari, stated that Cambodia would, quote, follow solidarity and cooperation with the Soviet Union. This statement, with added credibility because it came from a leader in the Khmer Rouge, explicitly states the Khmer Rouge connection to the USSR. To a lesser extent, the Cold War did not cause the Khmer Rouge rise to power. This is because there were many things happening in Cambodia that caused the Khmer Rouge to come to power, that weren't associated with the Cold War. For example, according to James A. Tyner, 20 communist leaders held a secretive meeting in Cambodia that was very influential to the growth of the Khmer Rouge. Given how secretive it was, there is almost no way that it was associated with the United States and USSR conflict. Additionally, the U.S. bombing of Vietnamese encampments was a definite attempt to stop the spread of communism. However, while it's an international action related to the spread of communism, as David Chandler writes, quote, "The bombing had the effect that the U.S. wanted. It broke the communist encirclement of Phnom Penh. This effect, as it was directed against communism, hindered the spread of communism in Cambodia and hindered the Khmer Rouge rise to power. While this is an example of foreign relations being related to communism in Cambodia, it actually pushed back against the Khmer Rouge instead of helping them."